I didn't get the promotion. The email sat in my inbox like a stone. I read it 3 times, each word sinking deeper. After 17 years of grinding through this company, after every late night and every crisis I fixed, they gave the department lead position to someone else. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. My office felt smaller suddenly. The coffee on my desk had gone cold an hour ago, but I didn't care enough to get a fresh cup. 40 years old, and I'm still fighting for recognition. Still proving myself. Still not enough. My phone buzzed. A calendar notification. Mandatory all-hands meeting tomorrow morning in the lobby. Department merger announcement. Great. Just what I needed. A room full of people pretending to be excited about change while I swallowed my disappointment and smiled like it didn't matter. I closed the email and opened my project files instead. Work always helped. Work made sense. Deadlines didn't care about feelings and problems, had solutions if you looked hard enough. But tonight, the numbers blurred on my screen, and I kept thinking about that email, about the name they didn't mention, about who got what I earned. I stayed late because going home meant sitting alone with this feeling, and I wasn't ready for that yet. The office emptied around me. Footsteps faded down the hallway. The cleaning crew rolled their cart past my door. By the time I left, it was past 9. Snow had started falling outside, light and quiet. I pulled my coat tight and walked to my car, my breath visible in the cold air. Tomorrow I'd find out who they chose. Tomorrow I'd have to stand in that lobby and act professional while my chest burned with frustration. Tonight I just drove home through empty streets and tried not to think about any of it. 15 years ago, I was 25 and thought I knew everything. I'd been at the company for 2 years, hungry to prove myself, desperate to move up. My manager assigned me to a cross-department audit project. Routine work, checking system logs, making sure everything matched up. That's when I found the error, a major one. Budget allocations that didn't line up, approvals that bypassed protocol, signatures that looked rushed. I flagged it immediately and sent the report up the chain without thinking twice. 2 days later, I heard someone from operations almost lost their job over it. A woman named Serena Alden. She'd been the one signing off on those budgets, and my report put her under investigation. I never met her during the audit. Everything happened through emails and department channels. But I heard about her through office gossip. Heard she was sharp, focused, ambitious. Heard she fought back hard and eventually proved the error wasn't intentional. Just a system glitch that made her approvals look suspicious. She kept her job, but the damage was done. Her reputation took a hit. People whispered, people doubted. A few months later, we ended up in the same strategy meeting. I walked in and saw her sitting across the table, arms crossed, eyes cold. She didn't introduce herself, didn't need to. I knew exactly who she was. The meeting was tense. Every suggestion I made, she challenged. Every idea she proposed, I questioned. We clashed over timelines, budgets, priorities. It wasn't personal at first, just to people with different work styles, but it escalated fast. By the end of the meeting, we could barely look at each other. After that meeting, we avoided each other. Different departments, different projects, different floors. I moved up quickly. She transferred to another branch office. Years passed and I forgot about her mostly. Just another clash in a long career full of them. But sitting here now, staring at that rejection email, I wondered if the person who got my promotion had a name I used to know. I shook my head. No point in guessing. Tomorrow I'd find out. The lobby was packed. I arrived early with my coffee in hand, trying to look calm even though my stomach felt tight. People stood in clusters, talking quietly, waiting for the announcement. The merger had everyone on edge. New teams meant new hierarchies, and nobody knew where they'd land. I scanned the room out of habit, looking for familiar faces. My small circle of work friends was somewhere in the crowd, but I didn't feel like finding them yet. That's when I saw her. Near the front desk, checking the event schedule on her phone. Dark blonde hair, sharp posture, calm expression. Older than I remembered, but unmistakable. Serena Alden. My chest tightened. 15 years and she looked exactly like someone who'd spent that time winning. Polished, confident, in control. I froze mid-step, coffee nearly spilling. She must have felt someone staring because she looked up. Our eyes locked across the crowded lobby. A pause, a flicker of recognition. Her expression didn't change much, but I saw it. The slight tension in her jaw, the way her hand tightened around her phone. She walked toward me slowly, weaving through the crowd. I couldn't move, couldn't look away. When she stopped in front of me, her voice was calm, almost neutral. Talia Voss, Serena Alden. We stood there for a moment, neither of us sure what to say next. The noise of the lobby faded into background static. It's been a long time, she said finally. 15 years, you're still here, so are you. Her eyes scanned my face like she was trying to figure out if I'd changed. I did the same to her. There was something steadier about her now, something harder to read. I transferred back last month, she said. Didn't expect to see you. Didn't expect to see you either. The silence stretched again, awkward, heavy. Before either of us could say more, someone tapped the microphone at the front of the room. The announcement was starting. Serena stepped back slightly, her expression closing off. Guess we'll find out what this merger means, she said quietly. I nodded, my throat tight. We turned toward the front together, standing a few feet apart. And I had a sinking feeling that whatever they were about to announce was going to make this reunion a lot more complicated. The VP of Operations stepped up to the microphone and the room went quiet. Thank you all for coming. As you know, we're merging the project management and operations strategy departments to streamline workflows and improve efficiency. I kept my face neutral, but my pulse was picking up. This means new leadership, new teams, and new opportunities. After careful consideration, we've selected Serena Alden as the new department lead. My stomach dropped. Serena? Of course it was Serena. I didn't look at her. Couldn't. I stared straight ahead while the VP kept talking about vision and collaboration and all the corporate language that meant nothing. When your career just hit a wall. Serena will be working closely with Talia Voss, our senior project manager, to co-lead the transition. We're confident this partnership will be highly effective. Partnership, right? The applause was polite and brief. I clapped twice, mechanical, keeping my expression blank. When the VP finished, people started moving, forming small groups to gossip and speculate. I needed air. I turned toward the exit, but Serena's voice stopped me. Talia. I turned slowly. She stood a few feet away, hands in her pockets, face unreadable. We should talk, she said, about the transition. Sure, later. Now would be better. I met her eyes, calm, steady, completely in control while I felt like my chest was caving in. Fine, I said. Your office or mine. Conference room, 10 minutes. She walked away before I could respond. I stood there for a moment, gripping my coffee cup too hard, then headed toward the elevators. 10 minutes to pull myself together. 10 minutes to figure out how to work with the woman who just took the job I deserved. The conference room felt too small. I sat on one side of the table, Serena on the other. She had a folder in front of her, neat and organized. I had nothing but my frustration and a poker face I'd spent years perfecting. I know this isn't easy, she started. Which part? The merger or working with you? Her jaw tightened slightly. Point for me. Both, probably, but we don't have a choice. The company wants us to co-lead, so that's what we're doing. Co-lead, I repeated. Sounds nice, except you're the department lead and I'm the senior project manager. Not exactly equal. I didn't make that decision, Talia, but you took it. Silence. She leaned back in her chair, studying me. I hated how calm she looked, how controlled. I earned this position, she said quietly. Just like you earned yours. If you have a problem with that, take it up with the VP, not me. I don't have a problem with you earning anything. I have a problem with being passed over after 17 years. Then maybe you should ask yourself why. The words hit harder than I expected. I felt my face heat up, but I kept my voice level. What's that supposed to mean? You're good at what you do, Talia. Fast, sharp, great in a crisis. But leadership isn't just about speed. It's about strategy, long-term thinking, building systems that last. And you think I can't do that? I think you don't want to. I stood up, chair scraping against the floor. This meeting's over. We have 3 more project files to review. Then review them yourself. You're the lead. I walked out before she could respond, my heart pounding, hands shaking slightly. I made it to the elevator and pressed the button too many times. When the doors finally opened, I stepped inside and leaned against the wall, closing my eyes. This was going to be impossible. 3 days later, the crisis hit. A major client project went sideways. The system integration failed during a critical phase, and the timeline we promised was suddenly impossible. The client was furious. The team was panicking, and the VP called an emergency meeting with me and Serena to fix it. I walked into the conference room and found her already there, laptop open, reviewing the damage report. How bad is it? I asked, sitting down across from her. Bad, we're looking at a 2-week delay minimum. The client contract has penalty clauses. I know. I wrote half of them. She looked up at me, something shifting in her expression. Not quite respect, but close. Can you pull the technical specs? I need to see where the integration broke. I opened my laptop and started pulling files. For the next 20 minutes, we worked in silence, passing information back and forth, building a picture of what went wrong. The VP joined us 10 minutes later, looking stressed. Tell me you have a solution. Serena spoke first. We can recover, but we need to reallocate resources from 2 other projects. Talia's team has the technical skills we need. My team's already stretched thin, I said. I know, but they're the only ones who can do this fast enough. I hated that she was right. Fine, but I'm pulling Marcos and Jensen. Non-negotiable. Agreed. The VP looked between us, surprised we weren't fighting. All right, make it happen. I want daily updates. He left, and we were alone again. Serena closed her laptop slowly. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is going to take everything we have. I know. She stood up and gathered her things. At the door, she paused. We're going to be working late on this, probably every night this week, I figured. Can we try not to kill each other? I almost smiled. I'll try, if you will. She nodded once and left. I sat there for a moment, staring at my screen. A week of late nights with Serena Alden. The universe had a twisted sense of humor. By Thursday night, the office was nearly empty. Just me, Serena, and a couple of team members working through the system fixes. My eyes burned from staring at spreadsheets and technical documentation. My coffee had gone cold again, but I kept drinking it anyway. Around 9, the last team member left, calling out a tired goodbye. That left just us. I heard Serena moving around in the conference room we'd claimed as our crisis headquarters. I should have gone home, should have gotten some sleep. But I couldn't leave when she was still working, competitive even now. I grabbed my laptop and walked to the conference room. She was standing at the whiteboard, sketching out a new workflow diagram, her blazer draped over a chair. You're still here, she said without turning around. So are you, I asked first. I sat down at the table. The integration patch is running. Won't know if it works until morning. Then go home. You go home. She turned around, marker still in her hand, and gave me a look that was almost amused. We're both stubborn. That's one word for it. She set the marker down and sat across from me, rubbing her eyes. For the first time since the lobby, I saw her look tired. Human, when's the last time you ate? I asked. Lunch, maybe. That was 8 hours ago. I'll eat when this is done. Serena? She looked up at the sound of her name. Something in my tone made her pause. There's a deli down the street, still open. I'm going to get food. Do you want something or not? She hesitated, then nodded slowly. Sandwich? Anything with turkey. Got it. I stood up and grabbed my coat. At the door, I glanced back. She was staring at the whiteboard again, lost in thought. 20 minutes later, I came back with 2 sandwiches, chips, and 2 bottles of water. I set hers down in front of her without a word. She looked at the food, then at me. Thank you. Don't mention it. We ate in silence for a while. The office was so quiet I could hear the heating system humming. This project's going to work, she said suddenly. What we're doing, it's solid. Yeah, it is. You're good under pressure. I stopped mid-bite, surprised. You don't have to say that. I'm not saying it to be nice. I'm saying it because it's true. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded and kept eating. When we finished, she leaned back in her chair, looking more relaxed than I'd seen her all week. 15 years ago, I thought you were reckless. I was. Maybe. But you got results. And you thought results weren't enough. I thought strategy mattered more. And now, she was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. Now I think maybe both matter, speed and strategy. You and me. The weight of that statement settled between us. I looked at her across the table, really looked at her. Past the title and the history and the promotion I didn't get. We're going to pull this off, I said. Yeah, we are. She smiled, small, barely there, but real. For the first time since the lobby, I didn't feel angry. Friday morning, the integration patch worked. The client was still unhappy, but the crisis was contained. The team celebrated with donuts in the break room, and I let myself feel relieved. For about 10 minutes before the next problem landed on my desk. That's how it always went. Fix one fire, move to the next. I was pouring my 3rd coffee of the day when Serena walked into the break room. She looked better, rested. She must have actually gone home and slept. Morning, she said. Morning. She poured her own coffee, black, no sugar. We stood there side by side in comfortable silence. The VP wants a debrief this afternoon, she said. I saw the email. We should coordinate our notes. Agreed. She turned to leave. Last night the food that was decent of you. I raised an eyebrow. Decent. Fine, it was nice. Careful, Serena. People might think we're getting along. A small smile tugged at her lips. Can't have that. But there was no edge to her words. Just something lighter. Something that felt almost like humor. She left and I stood there holding my coffee, feeling off balance in a way I couldn't quite name. The debrief went better than expected. Serena presented the crisis timeline and recovery strategy with the kind of clarity that made everyone in the room nod along. She broke down complex problems into simple language, showed exactly how we'd fixed things, and gave credit where it was due, including to me. Talia's team worked around the clock on the technical fixes. Without their speed and precision, we wouldn't have recovered this fast. The VP looked impressed. My team members sitting around the table looked proud. I caught Serena's eye across the table. She gave me the smallest nod. When the meeting ended, people filed out slowly, talking among themselves. I gathered my notes and was about to leave when Serena's voice stopped me. Talia, a minute. I turned back. The room was empty now, except for us. That was good work this week, she said. Really good. You too. I mean it. The way you handled the team kept them focused during the panic. That's leadership. The word hit me harder than it should have. Leadership. The thing she said I didn't want. Thanks. She picked up her folder, hesitating like she wanted to say something else. What? I asked. Nothing. Just we make a decent team when we're not trying to kill each other. I almost laughed. Yeah, we do. She headed for the door, then glanced back. Same time, Monday. We've got 3 more projects to review. I'll be there. She left and I stood alone in the conference room, feeling something shift inside my chest. Respect. I respected her. And somewhere in the chaos of this week, she'd started respecting me too. Over the next 2 weeks, we fell into a rhythm. Morning check-ins, afternoon strategy sessions, late nights when projects demanded it. We stopped fighting over every decision and started finding middle ground. Her long-term planning balanced my quick fixes. My crisis management supported her careful systems. It wasn't friendship, but it wasn't animosity anymore either. I started noticing small things about her. The way she tapped her pen when she was thinking, how she always arrived exactly 5 minutes early to meetings, the specific way she organized her notes, color-coded and precise. She noticed things about me too. I caught her watching sometimes when I worked through a problem out loud, thinking fast, connecting dots she hadn't seen yet. One afternoon in early December, we were reviewing budget allocations in her office. Snow was falling outside her window, thick and steady. "Your approach to resource management is interesting," she said, scrolling through my proposal. "Interesting good or interesting bad?" "Good, unconventional, but effective. You see shortcuts I'd never consider, and you see pitfalls I'd walk right into." She looked up from her screen. Exactly. The moment stretched. Her office felt smaller suddenly, warmer. "We balance each other out," I said quietly. "Yeah, we do." Neither of us looked away. My phone buzzed, breaking the moment. A team member needing approval on something. I answered quickly and stood up. I should get back to my desk. Right, me too. I walked to the door, feeling her eyes on me. "Talia." I turned. "Thanks for not making this impossible." "Same to you." I left before my face could show anything I wasn't ready to name. 2 days before Christmas, the office was half empty. Most people had left early for the holiday, but I stayed late finishing year-end reports. My apartment would be quiet anyway. No family nearby, no plans. Just me and leftover takeout and maybe a movie I'd seen before. I was packing up my laptop when my phone buzzed. A text from Serena. "Still at the office?" I typed back. "Yeah, about to leave you." Same question. "Do you have plans tonight?" I stared at the message, my heart doing something unexpected. No plans, why? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "I was going to cook dinner. Thought you might want to join. No pressure." I read it twice, then a third time. This wasn't a work meeting. This was something else. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Every logical part of my brain said to decline politely. Keep the boundary clear. Don't complicate things. But I was tired of being logical. Tired of eating alone. "What time?" 7. "I'll text you the address." "Okay." I sat there for a moment after sending it, wondering what I'd just agreed to. Serena's apartment was in a quiet neighborhood 20 minutes from the office. I parked on the street and checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. I'd changed out of my work clothes into jeans and a sweater. Casual but not too casual. I didn't want to look like I'd tried too hard, even though I had. I grabbed the bottle of wine I'd picked up and walked to her building, 3rd floor. The hallway smelled like someone was baking cookies. I knocked and heard footsteps. When she opened the door, I forgot how to breathe for a second. She'd changed too. Dark jeans, a soft gray sweater, no makeup. Just her. "Hey," she said, smiling. "Come in." Her apartment was warm and clean. Minimalist, but comfortable. A couch with thick cushions, bookshelves lined with actual books, soft lighting that made everything feel calm. "This is nice," I said, handing her the wine. "Thanks. I just moved in a few months ago, still getting settled." She led me to the kitchen. It was small, but well organized. Ingredients laid out on the counter, a cutting board, fresh lemons. "I was thinking chicken piccata," she said. "That okay?" "Sounds perfect." "Good, because I already started and it's too late to change plans." I laughed, actually laughed. It felt strange and good at the same time. She handed me a glass of wine and we stood there for a moment, both of us a little unsure how to start. "So, I said. What do you need me to do? Can you handle the lemon and capers while I deal with the chicken? I can do that. We moved around the kitchen together, falling into an easy rhythm. She seasoned the chicken and set it in the pan. The sizzle filled the space. I sliced lemons and measured capers, my hands steady, despite the nervous energy humming under my skin. The smell of butter and garlic and lemon started filling the apartment, rich and bright and comforting. You cook often? I asked. When I have time, it helps me think. Same, well, not often, but when I do, it clears my head. She glanced at me while flipping the chicken. What do you usually make? Pasta, mostly. Stir fry. Things that come together fast. That tracks. What's that supposed to mean? You like speed, efficiency, even in the kitchen. I rolled my eyes but smiled. And you probably have a meal plan for the whole week. I do, actually. Of course she did. We worked in comfortable silence after that. Every so often, our hands would brush, reaching for the same ingredient or moving around each other in the small space. Each time I felt it, a spark, a pull. When the chicken was done, she plated everything carefully. Tender pieces of meat, bright sauce, the scent of lemon and butter, making my mouth water. We sat at her small dining table by the window. Snow was falling outside, soft and steady, the streetlights glowing through the flakes. This looks amazing, I said. Let's hope it tastes that way. It did. The chicken was perfectly cooked, the sauce tangy and rich. We ate slowly, sharing small looks across the table, the silence between us easy in a way I hadn't expected. So, she said after a while, no family nearby for the holidays. No. My parents retired to Florida a few years ago. I see them once, maybe twice a year. That must be lonely. Sometimes my brother's in California. We're not close. And my ex-wife has the rest of my old circle. There it was, the ex-wife. I'd heard rumors, but she'd never mentioned it directly. How long were you married? 8 years. Divorced 6 years ago. I'm sorry. She shrugged, taking a sip of wine. It was mutual. We wanted different things. She wanted stability and routine. I wanted to keep climbing. Career over relationship. Yeah. Sound familiar? It did. Too familiar. I had something similar, I said. Mid-30s, she wanted me to slow down. I couldn't. Or wouldn't. Both, probably. Serena nodded, understanding in her eyes. We're alike that way, she said quietly. Yeah, we are. The weight of that admission settled between us. Two women who chose ambition over connection, who built walls and called them boundaries. We finished eating and cleared the table together. At the sink, our hands touched under the warm water, and we both paused. I looked at her. She looked back. The moment stretched, heavy with something unspoken. Talia, she said softly. Yeah, I'm glad you came tonight. Me too. She stepped closer. I didn't move back. Her hand lifted slowly, fingertips brushing my jaw. Soft, careful, giving me every chance to pull away. I didn't. I leaned in and kissed her. It was gentle at first, testing. Her lips were warm and she tasted like wine and lemon. When she kissed me back, everything else disappeared. The kitchen, the snow, the years of friction and misunderstanding. Just us. Just this. When we finally pulled apart, we stood there, foreheads nearly touching, both of us breathing a little harder. That was, she started. Yeah. Should we talk about it? Probably. But neither of us moved. Neither of us wanted to break whatever this was. Not tonight, I said quietly. Let's just not overthink it tonight. She nodded, relief flickering across her face. Okay. We stood there a moment longer, then finished the dishes side by side. The air between us changed completely. I left around 11. Serena walked me to the door, hands in her pockets, looking softer than I'd ever seen her. Drive safe, she said. I will. We stood in the doorway, neither of us quite ready to say goodbye. Tonight was good, I said. It was. We should probably figure out what this means. Probably, But not now. Not yet. I stepped into the hallway and she leaned against the doorframe, watching me go. Good night, Talia. Good night, Serena. I made it to my car before the full weight of what happened hit me. I'd kissed Serena Alden, my former rival, my current co-lead, the woman who got the promotion I wanted, and it felt right. I drove home through quiet streets, my mind replaying every moment. The way she looked at me, the softness of her lips, the careful way she touched my face like I was something precious. When I got home, I hung up my coat and sat on the edge of my bed, still wearing my sweater, still smelling faintly of lemon and butter. I touched my lips without thinking. They still felt warm. My phone buzzed. A text from Serena. Thank you for tonight. I smiled and typed back. Thank you for inviting me. 3 dots appeared. Sleep well, you too. I set my phone down and lay back on my bed, staring at the ceiling. I had no idea what happened next. No idea how to navigate this, but for the first time in a long time, I wasn't overthinking it. I just let myself feel warm, feel hopeful, feel something. I didn't sleep well. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her. The way she looked in that soft gray sweater, the careful way she moved around the kitchen, the moment before the kiss when everything stopped and it was just us. By 6 in the morning, I gave up and made coffee. My apartment felt too quiet. I turned on music just to fill the space. Something low and instrumental that didn't demand attention. I kept checking my phone. No new messages. I didn't know if that was good or bad. What were the rules here? Should I text first? Wait for her to reach out? Pretend nothing happened when we went back to work after Christmas? I hated not knowing. Around 8, my phone buzzed. My heart jumped. It was Serena. Morning coffee. Simple, casual. But my chest tightened anyway. Already on my second cup. Show off. I smiled at my screen like an idiot. What are you doing today? She asked. Nothing. Avoiding errands. You. Same, was thinking about going to that cafe near the office. The one with the good pastries. Yeah? Want to join? I hesitated. This felt like more than coffee. Like a continuation of last night. Sure. What time? 10. I'll be there. I set my phone down and stared at my closet. Suddenly anxious about what to wear to a casual coffee date that wasn't technically a date, but definitely felt like one. I settled on jeans and a sweater. Simple. Not trying too hard. At 9:45, I was already in my car, heading to the cafe, my stomach doing flips. Lucia's was warm and busy with the weekend crowd. I spotted Serena at a corner table by the window. She was reading something on her phone, a coffee already in front of her. When she looked up and saw me, her face softened into a small smile. Hey. I sat down across from her, suddenly unsure what to do with my hands. I ordered you a latte, she said. Hope that's okay. Perfect. The barista brought it over a minute later, and I wrapped my hands around the warm cup, grateful for something to hold. We sat in silence for a moment, not uncomfortable, but waited. So, I said finally. Last night, yeah, that happened. It did. She set her coffee down and looked at me directly. No walls, no professional mask. I don't regret it. Me neither, but it complicates things. Everything about us is complicated. She almost smiled. True. So what do we do? I asked. I don't know. I haven't figured that part out yet. Same. A couple walked past our table, laughing about something. The cafe smelled like cinnamon and fresh bread. Outside, the snow kept falling. I like you, Talia, Serena said suddenly. More than I expected to. More than is probably smart given we work together. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice steady. I like you too. So where does that leave us? Honestly, I have no idea. She laughed softly. Great. At least we're lost together. She reached across the table and her fingers brushed mine. Just barely. Just enough. Let's just see what happens, she said. No pressure. No expectations. Just see. I can do that. Yeah, Yeah. We stayed at the cafe for 2 hours, talking about everything except work, her favorite books, my terrible taste in movies, places we wanted to travel, small pieces of ourselves we hadn't shared before. When we finally left, the snow had stopped and the streets were bright with fresh powder. We stood outside the cafe, breath visible in the cold air. This was nice, she said. It was, see you after Christmas, definitely. She hesitated, then leaned in and kissed my cheek. Quick and soft. Merry Christmas, Talia. Merry Christmas. I watched her walk to her car, then got into mine, my face still warm where her lips had been. Whatever this was, I wanted more of it. The week after Christmas felt different. We were back in the office, but the energy between us had shifted. Every meeting felt charged. Every accidental brush of hands near the coffee maker made my pulse jump. We kept things professional. Emails were formal. Conversations stayed on task. But underneath it all, something hummed. Constant, undeniable. On Wednesday, the VP called us into his office. I need you both in Toronto next week, he said, sliding a folder across his desk. The integration project at the branch office hit a snag. They need senior oversight. Serena picked up the folder first, scanning the details. How long? She asked. 3 days. Floor at most. Flights are tight this time of year, so I've got you both on the same schedule. You'll fly out Monday morning. My stomach flipped. 3 days. Same city. Same hotel probably. That works, Serena said calmly. Talia. Yeah, no problem. The VP nodded. Good. I'll have my assistant send the details. Pack for cold weather. Toronto's getting hit hard this winter. We left his office together, walking side by side down the hallway. Toronto, I said quietly. Yeah. Same flights. Seems that way. She glanced at me, something unreadable in her expression. This'll be interesting, she said. That's one word for it. At the elevator, she stopped and turned to face me fully. We can handle this professionally, right? Of course. Good. But neither of us looked convinced. The elevator doors opened and we stepped inside. Alone, the doors closed. For 30 seconds, we stood in silence, the tension so thick I could barely breathe. When the doors opened on my floor, I stepped out quickly. See you Monday, I said. Monday? The doors closed and I stood there in the empty hallway, my heart racing. 3 days in Toronto with Serena Alden. This was either going to clarify everything or destroy us completely. Monday morning came too fast. I met Serena at the airport, both of us dressed in business casual, rolling carry-on bags behind us. She looked tired. I probably did too. I'd barely slept. Morning, she said. Morning. We checked in and moved through security with practiced efficiency. At the gate, we sat next to each other, both pretending to work on our laptops. But I kept noticing things. The small silver earrings she wore, the faint scent of her perfume. When they called our boarding group, we lined up together. On the plane, we were seated next to each other, middle and window. Of course. I took the middle seat without asking. She settled by the window and pulled out her tablet. The plane filled up quickly. A businessman took the aisle seat, immediately putting in headphones and closing his eyes. We were trapped together for the next 2 hours. Takeoff was smooth. Once we leveled out, Serena opened a project file, and I did the same. We worked in silence, shoulders occasionally brushing. Halfway through the flight, I needed to use the restroom. I excused myself and made my way down the narrow aisle. The bathroom was tiny and cramped. I finished quickly and washed my hands, staring at my reflection in the small mirror. Get it together, Talia. When I opened the door, Serena was standing right there. We both froze. Sorry, she said. I didn't realize you were still in there. No, it's fine. I'm done. But neither of us moved. The aisle was empty. Everyone else was sleeping or distracted. Serena, I started. We should talk, she said at the same time. Yeah. She glanced around, then gestured to the bathroom behind me. In here. Where else? We can't exactly have this conversation at our seats. She had a point. We squeezed into the tiny bathroom together and she locked the door behind us. The space was impossibly small. We stood facing each other, barely 6 inches apart, the hum of the planes surrounding us. "This is ridiculous," I said, completely. But neither of us laughed. "I can't stop thinking about you," she said quietly. "About that night. About what this means." "Me neither. We're supposed to be professional. Keep boundaries." "I know, but I don't want to." My breath caught. "Serena." She stepped closer. There was nowhere to go. My back hit the wall. "Tell me to stop," she whispered. I couldn't, didn't want to. I reached up and pulled her to me. The kiss was harder this time. Desperate. All the tension from the past 2 weeks exploding in that tiny space. Her hands gripped my waist. Mine tangled in her hair. The plane shook slightly from turbulence, but we didn't stop. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "We can't do this here," I said, even as my body screamed the opposite. "I know," but her hands were still on me, and mine were still on her. "Toronto," she said. "We'll figure it out in Toronto." "Yeah." One more kiss. Slower this time. Softer. Her hands slid up my back, found the zipper of my dress. Paused, calm. "Yes," I breathed. She pulled the zipper down slowly. "You're beautiful," she said, her voice rough with desire. "So are you." I helped her out of her jacket, unbuttoned her shirt, revealed skin I'd only imagined. We took our time, learned each other, every touch deliberate, every kiss meaningful. Then she pulled back, fixed her hair, and unlocked the door. She left first. I waited a full minute before following, my heart pounding, my body still humming. When I got back to my seat, she was staring out the window, her face calm but her hands gripping the armrest a little too tight. I sat down and we didn't speak for the rest of the flight. But everything had changed. We landed in Toronto just after noon. The city was freezing. Wind cut through my coat the second we stepped outside. Snow covered everything, piled high along the sidewalks. A car service took us to the hotel. We sat in the back seat, not talking, the city passing by in a blur of gray sky and white streets. The hotel was nice, corporate standard. The lobby smelled like coffee and expensive air freshener. At check-in, the clerk handed us our key cards. "You're both on the 8th floor," she said cheerfully. "Rooms 812 and 814. Right next to each other." Of course we were. We took the elevator up in silence. When the doors opened, we walked down the hallway together, stopping at our respective doors. "Meetings at 3, Serena said. "In the branch office conference room. I'll be ready." She hesitated, keycard in hand. "Talia." "Yeah." "About the plane." "We don't have to talk about it right now. We should probably talk about it eventually." "Eventually. Not now." She nodded slowly. "Okay." We went into our separate rooms, and I leaned against the door the second it closed. What were we doing? I dropped my bag on the bed and went to the window. The city stretched out below, busy and cold and indifferent to whatever mess I was making of my life. My phone buzzed. A text from Serena. I don't regret it. I stared at those 4 words for a long time. Then I typed back, "Me neither." 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Appeared again. "See you at 3. See you then." I set my phone down and sat on the edge of the bed, trying to steady my breathing. 3 days in Toronto. Anything could happen. The meeting went well. We spent 3 hours reviewing the integration issues with the Toronto team, identifying fixes, adjusting timelines. Serena led with her usual precision, and I backed her up when technical questions came up. We worked together seamlessly, like we'd been doing this for years instead of weeks. By 6, we were done. The Toronto team seemed relieved. We'd given them a clear path forward. Outside the office building, the sun was already setting. The cold hit immediately. "Hungry?" Serena asked, pulling her coat tighter. "Starving. There's a place 2 blocks from here. Good food, quiet. Lead the way." We walked through the city streets, our breath visible in the freezing air. The sidewalks were busy with people heading home from work. Holiday lights still hung in some windows, even though Christmas was past. The restaurant was small and warm, with exposed brick walls and soft lighting. We got a table in the back corner. The waiter brought menus and water. We ordered quickly. Salmon for her, steak for me. When he left, we sat in silence for a moment. "That went well today," I said. It did. The Toronto team seemed solid. They just needed direction, which we gave them. The conversation felt stiff, formal, like we were avoiding the real topic. The food came and we ate slowly, both of us aware of the weight hanging between us. Halfway through dinner, Serena set down her fork. "We need to talk about what's happening here. I know. I like you, Talia. I think I've made that clear. But we work together, closely, and if this goes wrong, it could destroy everything we've built professionally. I know that too. So what do we do?" I took a breath, choosing my words carefully. "I don't have all the answers, but I know I don't want to pretend nothing's happening, and I know I don't want to stop, even if it's complicated. Everything about us has been complicated from the start. Why stop now?" She almost smiled. "You make a fair point. So where does that leave us?" Trying, carefully, seeing if this is real or just tension that built up over time. "I can live with that. Yeah. She reached across the table and her hand covered mine. Warm, steady. "Let's finish this trip," she said. "Focus on work. And when we get back to Chicago, we figure out what this is. Deal?" We finished dinner and walked back to the hotel through the cold streets. This time, the silence felt easier. At the elevator, she pressed the button and we waited. "Good night, Talia." "Good night, Serena." The doors opened. We stepped inside. When they closed, she looked at me. "Or," she said quietly, "or what?" "We could have a drink. In my room. Just talk." My heart started racing. Just talk. To start, the elevator dinged. 8th floor. The doors opened. I followed her to her room. Her room was identical to mine. She dropped her coat on a chair and moved to the minibar, pulling out 2 small bottles of wine. "Not fancy, but it'll do," she said, handing me one. We sat on opposite ends of the small couch by the window. The city lights glowed outside, so I said, "Talk." But neither of us started. She took a sip of wine, studying me. "Why did you say yes?" she asked. "To dinner that night at my place." "Honestly, I was tired of being alone. That's it." "No, I was also curious about you, about who you'd become. You surprised me. How you're softer than I expected. When you let your guard down." She smiled slightly. "You're more thoughtful than I gave you credit for. 15 years ago I wasn't. Neither was I." We sat in silence, drinking our wine, the space between us shrinking slowly. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Go ahead. Do you think we would have gotten here if I'd gotten that promotion instead of you?" She considered the question carefully. "No, I don't think so." "Why not?" "Because you would have been my boss, or I would have left. Either way, we wouldn't have been equals. And now we are. Close enough." I set my wine down. What if this doesn't work? What if we try and it falls apart? Then we deal with it like adults. Keep working together professionally. "You really think we could do that?" "I don't know, but I think it's worth the risk." She moved closer. "Just slightly, Talia. Yeah, I'm going to kiss you now. And if you want me to stop at any point, just say so." I didn't say anything. She leaned in and her lips met mine, soft at first, then deeper. Her hand cupped my face and I melted into it. We moved together naturally, her pulling me closer, my hands finding her waist. The couch was too small, so we shifted to the bed, still kissing, still careful, but growing less careful by the second. Her fingers traced the edge of my shirt and I nodded, giving permission. She pulled it over my head and I did the same for her. We took our time learning each other, finding what made the other gasp or sigh. When it was over, we lay tangled together under the hotel sheets, the city glowing outside the window. That was, she started. Are you okay? More than okay. She kissed my shoulder. Good. We fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, safe. I woke up to soft morning light filtering through the curtains. For a second, I forgot where I was. Then I felt her, warm and solid beside me, one arm draped across my waist, her breathing slow and steady. Serena, I turned carefully, not wanting to wake her. Her face was peaceful in sleep, hair messy across the pillow, the sharp edges she wore during the day completely gone. My chest tightened with something that felt dangerously close to tenderness. This was real. Whatever this was, it wasn't just tension or curiosity anymore. Her eyes opened slowly and found mine. Morning, she said, voice rough with sleep. Morning. What time is it? I glanced at the clock on the nightstand. Almost 7. We have that site visit at 9, I know, but neither of us moved. She reached up and brushed her thumb across my cheek. No regrets, she asked quietly. None, you. None? We stayed like that for a few more minutes before reality pulled us back. I should get to my room, I said. Shower. Yeah. I started to sit up, but she caught my hand. Talia. Yeah. Last night meant something. To me, my throat tightened. To me too. She let go, and I gathered my clothes, getting dressed quickly. At the door, I looked back. She was sitting up in bed, sheet pulled around her, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. See you in an hour, I said. I'll meet you in the lobby. I slipped out and walked the few steps to my own room, my heart still racing. The site visit took most of the morning. We toured the Toronto office, met with department heads, reviewed workflows, professional, focused. But every time our eyes met across a conference table, I felt it. The memory of last night humming between us. By noon, we were done. The team took us to lunch at a nearby restaurant. Small talk, business conversation. I played my part perfectly. After lunch, we had a few hours before our next meeting. Serena suggested we walk around the city, get some air. We bundled up against the cold and headed out. The streets were busy with midday traffic. The CN Tower loomed in the distance, visible between buildings. Want to see it up close? She asked. Sure. We walked in comfortable silence, passing coffee shops and boutiques and groups of tourists taking photos. The cold air felt good, clarifying. We were 2 blocks from the tower when I saw them. A woman walking toward us with another woman beside her. Blonde hair, confident stride, expensive coat. I felt Serena freeze beside me. That's her, she said quietly. Her who? My ex-wife? My stomach dropped. The woman was getting closer. She hadn't noticed us yet. She was laughing at something her companion said. Then she looked up and saw Serena. Everything stopped. They were maybe 10 feet apart now. The ex's expression shifted from surprise to something guarded. Her companion looked confused. Nobody spoke. Nobody waved. Just a brief moment of eye contact, loaded with years of history I knew nothing about. The ex's gaze flicked to me, curious, assessing. I felt Serena tense beside me. Then she did something I didn't expect. She turned to me, stepped close, and kissed me. Not a peck, a real kiss. Her hand on my jaw, her lips firm and sure against mine. I froze for half a second, shocked, then kissed her back because what else was I going to do? When she pulled away, I saw her ex still standing there, face unreadable, before turning and walking past us without a word. Her companion followed, glancing back once with raised eyebrows. Serena stepped back, her hand dropping from my face. I'm sorry, she said immediately. I shouldn't have. My heart was pounding. What just happened? I panicked. So you kissed me. I didn't want her to think I was alone, that I was still. It was stupid. I'm sorry. She looked genuinely upset. I took a breath, trying to process. Serena, I know it was wrong. Using you like that, I just. seeing her with someone new, and I wasn't thinking. Hey, I caught her hand. It's okay. It's not. That wasn't fair to you. Maybe not, but I get it. She looked at me, something vulnerable in her eyes I'd never seen before. She left me, she said quietly, 6 years ago, said I cared more about my career than her. And she was right. I did, and seeing her happy with someone else, it brought it all back. And you wanted her to see you'd moved on too. Yeah, even if it wasn't entirely real. She winced. It felt real. Last night felt real. But this wasn't about me. It was about her. She looked down. I'm sorry. I should have been angry. Should have felt used. But looking at her standing there, walls completely down, I just felt sad. Let's keep walking, I said. Talia. We'll talk. Just not here. We walked in silence for another block before finding a small cafe. We got coffee and sat in a corner booth. Tell me about her, I said. Serena wrapped her hands around her cup. We met at a company event 12 years ago. She was smart, funny, had her life together. We got married fast. Too fast, probably. What happened? I got promoted. Then promoted again. Longer hours, more travel. She wanted kids. A house in the suburbs. I wanted the next position. The next challenge. So she left. She tried to make it work for years, but eventually she realized I wasn't going to change. So she filed for divorce and moved on. Do you regret it? She was quiet for a long moment. I regret hurting her, but I don't regret my choices. That probably makes me selfish. Or honest. She looked up at me. Last night wasn't about her, Talia. I need you to know that. What happened between us was real. But the kiss just now was, yes, and I'm sorry. I took a sip of coffee, trying to sort through my feelings. I believe you, I said finally, about last night. But this. Seeing your ex, it clearly brought up things you haven't dealt with. I thought I had. Maybe not entirely. She nodded slowly. You're probably right. We sat in silence for a while. The cafe was warm and smelled like cinnamon. So where does that leave us? She asked. I don't know. I need to think. That's fair. We finished our coffee and headed back to the hotel. The walk was quiet. Not angry, but heavy. At the elevator, she turned to me. I meant what I said this morning. Last night meant something. I know, but I understand if you need space. I do, just for tonight. She nodded. Okay. We rode up in silence. At our floor, we stepped out together. Good night, Talia. Good night. I went to my room and closed the door, leaning against it. My lips still tingled from that kiss on the street, the one that wasn't really for me. I sat on the bed and tried to figure out what I was feeling. Hurt, confused, because I'd been there too. Choosing career over connection. Building walls and calling them ambition. We were more alike than I wanted to admit, and that scared me. I didn't sleep well again. Around midnight, I gave up and sat by the window, watching the city lights. My phone was on the nightstand. No messages. Part of me wanted to text her. The other part needed the space I'd asked for. By morning, I'd made a decision. I got ready and met her in the lobby at 8. We had one more meeting before our afternoon flight home. She looked tired too, like she hadn't slept either. Morning, she said carefully. Morning. We walked to the office together, professional distance between us. The meeting went smoothly. We presented our findings and recommendations. The Toronto team seemed satisfied. By noon, we were done. We grabbed lunch at the airport, sitting across from each other in a generic terminal restaurant, picking at sandwiches neither of us really wanted. I've been thinking, I said finally. She looked up. About yesterday. About what happened. Talia, I'm really sorry. I know, and I believe you. But it made me realize something. What? We're both carrying things, old wounds, failed relationships, years of putting work first. Yeah. And maybe we need to deal with that before we can figure out what this is. Her expression shifted. Not hurt, but understanding. You're probably right, she said quietly. I'm not saying never. I'm just saying not right now. Because I'm a mess. Because we both are. She smiled sadly. Fair point. I still want to work with you. I still respect you. But the rest of it, we need to slow down. Okay. Yeah. You're being smart. Smarter than I was. We finished our sandwiches in silence and headed to the gate. On the plane, we sat together again, but this time it felt different. Not charged, just quiet. Somewhere over the border between Canada and the US, she spoke. Thank you. For what? For being honest, for not just walking away. I don't walk away from things that matter. This matters. Yeah, it does. She reached over and squeezed my hand once. Brief, then let go. We spent the rest of the flight working on our laptops, side by side, finding our way back to solid ground. The week after Toronto felt strange. We fell back into our work rhythm easily enough. Meetings, project reviews, the usual crisis management. But something had shifted. We were careful with each other. Polite, professional. Like we'd stepped back from a cliff edge and were trying not to look down. Friday afternoon, I stayed late finishing reports. The office was mostly empty. I heard footsteps in the hallway and looked up to see Serena passing my door. She paused when she saw me. Still here? Yeah, you. Just finished a call with the West Coast team. She leaned against my doorframe, looking tired but relaxed. More relaxed than she'd been all week. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Do you play anything like an instrument? The question caught me off guard. Why do you ask? I was going through old HR files. Saw your original application from 17 years ago. You listed piano under special skills. I'd forgotten about that. I used to. Not anymore. Why'd you stop? I shrugged. No time. Work took over. She nodded slowly, like she understood more than I'd said. You should play again sometime. Maybe. She pushed off the doorframe. Anyway, have a good weekend. You too. She left and I sat there thinking about the piano gathering dust in my apartment. The one I'd bought 5 years ago with grand plans to practice on weekends. I'd played maybe 10 times total. Monday morning, Serena called me into her office. Close the door, she said. I did, feeling my stomach tighten. Her tone was serious. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just found something interesting, and I wanted to tell you privately first. She turned her laptop toward me. On the screen was an old incident report, 15 years old. My incident report. The system error I'd flagged that almost cost her her job. I was going through archived files for a compliance audit, she said, and I found this. I stared at the document, my name at the bottom, my detailed notes about the budget discrepancies. I never read the full report back then, she continued. I was too busy defending myself. But reading it now, I see something I missed. What? She scrolled down. Here you didn't just flag the error, you found the source. A glitch in the approval system that was randomly duplicating signatures and making legitimate approvals look fraudulent. I'd forgotten that part. You proved it wasn't intentional, she said quietly. Your report is what saved my job, not the investigation. You. I didn't know what to say. I spent 15 years thinking you tried to destroy my career, she continued, but you actually saved it. I was just doing my job. You went beyond your job. You could have just flagged the discrepancy and moved on. But you dug deeper, found the real cause. She closed the laptop and looked at me directly. Thank you. 15 years late, but thank you. My chest felt tight. I didn't do it for you. I didn't even know you. I know. But it still mattered. We sat in silence for a moment. Does this change anything? I asked. About what? About us? About what happened in Toronto? She considered the question carefully. It changes how I see our history. But the rest of it, we still need time. Both of us. Yeah, but knowing this, it helps. Makes the past make more sense. I stood up to leave. Serena. Yeah. For what it's worth, I'm glad you stayed. 15 years ago, I'm glad you fought back and kept your career, she smiled. Small but genuine, me too. Over the next few weeks, something eased between us. Not romantic, not yet, but the old tension was gone, replaced by something steadier. Mutual respect that felt earned instead of forced. We grabbed coffee sometimes, talked about projects, occasionally about other things, small pieces of our lives outside work. She mentioned her brother in California, how they'd been trying to reconnect after years of distance. I told her about my parents in Florida, how my dad's health was declining and I needed to visit soon. You should go, she said, before it gets worse. I know, I just keep putting it off. Why? Because facing it means accepting he's getting old. And I'm not ready for that. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. My mom died 5 years ago, she said quietly. Cancer. I waited too long to visit. Kept saying I'd go next month when work slowed down. I'm sorry. Don't wait, Talia. Whatever you're afraid of facing, it's worse if you wait. That weekend, I booked a flight to Florida. I was in Serena's office going over quarterly projections when her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and her expression shifted. I need to take this. Want me to step out? No, it's fine, she answered. This is Serena Alden. I pretended to focus on my laptop, but I could hear both sides of the conversation. A man's voice, professional, offering her something. When she hung up, she sat very still. What was that? I asked. Job offer. Head of operations for their North American division. My stomach dropped. That's huge. Yeah, we're Toronto. The company we worked with last month. They were impressed. Toronto, of course. Are you going to take it? I don't know. I told them I'd think about it. She looked conflicted, excited but uncertain. It's a big promotion, I said carefully. More responsibility, better pay, probably. It's everything I've worked toward. But I just got settled here. The team is solid. The work is good. She didn't say the other part, the part about us. Whatever we were becoming, you should take it, I said. Talia, I'm serious. You can't pass up an opportunity like this because of what? Because of whatever this is, or might be. She leaned back in her chair, studying me. What if I don't want to choose between career and connection this time? You're not choosing. You're being smart. By leaving, by doing what's right for you. She was quiet for a long moment. I have 2 weeks to decide, she said finally. They want an answer by the end of the month. Okay, but my chest felt hollow. I couldn't focus for the rest of the day. Serena in Toronto, permanently, building a life there while I stayed here doing the same work with someone new. Someone who wasn't her. The thought made me feel sick. By 6, I gave up pretending to work and went home. My apartment felt too quiet. I poured a glass of wine and sat at my piano. Dust covered the keys. I wiped it off with my sleeve and pressed middle C. The note rang out clear and lonely. I started playing badly at first, my fingers fumbling over scales I used to know by heart. But slowly muscle memory kicked in, a piece I'd learned in college. Something soft and melancholy that matched my mood. I played until my hands hurt and my wine was gone. When I stopped, the silence felt heavier than before. My phone buzzed. A text from Serena. Are you okay? I stared at it for a long time before responding. Yeah, just thinking. About everything. 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, me too. Monday morning started with another bombshell. The VP called an emergency meeting. Department heads only. I wasn't technically required to attend, but Serena asked me to come anyway. The conference room was tense when we walked in. Thank you all for coming on short notice, the VP started. I'll get straight to it. Corporate is merging to more departments, operations and logistics. We're consolidating leadership positions. My stomach sank. What does that mean? Someone asked. It means we're eliminating redundant roles. Some of you will be reassigned. He didn't finish, but we all understood. After the meeting, Serena pulled me aside. My position is one of the redundant ones, she said quietly. What? Department lead. They're combining it with logistics management, creating one senior VP role. Did they offer it to you? No, they're bringing someone in from corporate. I'll either take a demotion or leave, yeah? The Toronto offer suddenly made perfect sense. When do you have to decide? About Toronto. End of this week. And about staying here. Same timeline. We stood in the hallway, people passing around us, the office humming with nervous energy. I'm not going to let them push you out, I said suddenly. Talia, I'm serious. You earned your position. You've built this team from nothing. I'm going to fight for you. You can't. Watch me. I spent the next 3 days building a case, project success rates under Serena's leadership, team retention numbers, client satisfaction scores, budget efficiency. Every metric that mattered. I compiled it into a presentation and requested a meeting with the VP and the regional director. They granted me 15 minutes. I used every second. Serena Alden is one of the most effective leaders this company has. I started, and I can prove it. I walked them through the data, showed them the direct impact she'd had on department performance, the crisis we'd solved together, the Toronto project that went so well they offered her a position. Eliminating her role is a mistake, I concluded, not just for her but for this entire operation. The VP looked uncomfortable. The regional director looked impressed. This is compelling, Talia, the director said. But the decision came from corporate. Our hands are tied. Then untie them, push back. Tell them what you're losing. It's not that simple. It should be. The VP cleared his throat. We appreciate your advocacy, but the merger is happening regardless. I left the meeting frustrated and exhausted. Serena was waiting outside the conference room. How'd it go? Not well enough. You tried? That's more than most people would do. It's not fair. No, but it's reality. We walked back to her office together. I'm taking the Toronto offer, she said quietly. I stopped walking. When did you decide? Just now. If they're pushing me out here anyway, I might as well go somewhere that wants me. Toronto wants you. Yeah, they do. I should have been happy for her. Should have congratulated her. But all I felt was loss. That night, Serena texted me. Can we talk in person? When? Now, my place. I hesitated. Going to her apartment felt like opening a door I'd been trying to keep closed. But I couldn't say no. Give me 30 minutes. I changed into jeans and a sweater, grabbed my coat, and drove through the cold January night to her building. She answered the door in sweatpants and an oversized shirt. No makeup. Vulnerable in a way I rarely saw. Thanks for coming, she said. Of course. Her apartment felt different than last time, less put together. There were boxes in the corner. She'd already started packing. Wine, she offered. Please. We sat on her couch with our glasses, the same spot where we'd sat that first night, before everything got complicated. I leave in 3 weeks, she said. They want me to start February 15th. That's fast. They need someone immediately. I took a long sip of wine. I'm scared, she said quietly. I looked at her, surprised by the admission. Of what? Of making the same mistakes. Choosing career over everything else, ending up alone again in a new city where I don't know anyone. You'll meet people, build a new team. That's not what I'm talking about. The weight of her words settled between us. Serena, I know we decided to take time to deal with our own things first, and that was the right call. But now I'm leaving and I can't stop thinking about what we might have had if we'd been braver. My chest tightened. I think about it too. Yeah, all the time. She set down her wine glass and turned to face me fully. I'm tired of being careful, Talia. Tired of always making the smart choice, the safe choice. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't want to leave without knowing, without trying. Trying what? Long distance. You'll be in Toronto, I'll be here. So we'll figure it out. People do it. People who've been together for years, maybe. Not people who barely started. We've known each other for 15 years, most of which we spent hating each other, and the rest of which we spent learning we were wrong. She moved closer, her knee touching mine. I'm not asking for promises or labels or anything huge. I'm just asking if you feel this too, if it's worth trying. I looked at her, really looked at her, at the woman who challenged me and frustrated me, and somehow made me want to be better. I feel it, I said quietly. I've been feeling it for weeks, months maybe. Then why are we fighting it? Because I'm scared too, of getting hurt. Of this not working and losing what we've built professionally. What if it does work? What if it doesn't? She reached for my hand. I can't promise it'll work, but I can promise I'll try, really try, not half-hearted, not with one foot out the door. Actually try, even from Toronto, especially from Toronto. Because if I'm leaving anyway, we might as well be honest about what this is. I squeezed her hand, my throat tight. I don't want you to go, I know. But I understand why you have to. I know that too. We sat there holding hands, the apartment quiet around us. So what now? I asked. Now we stop being scared. We have 3 weeks before I leave. Let's use them. And after we figure it out as we go. It wasn't a perfect plan. It wasn't even a good plan. But it was honest. Okay, I said. Yeah. She leaned in and kissed me, soft and slow and full of everything we'd been holding back. When we pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine. Stay tonight, she whispered. Okay. We moved to her bedroom and spent the night wrapped around each other, talking and touching and memorizing every detail before distance made it harder. The next 3 weeks passed too quickly. We didn't hide it exactly, but we didn't announce it either. Just 2 people spending time together. Coffee before work, lunch when schedules allowed, late nights at one apartment or the other. We talked about everything. Her fears about the new role, my guilt about not visiting my father sooner, the ways we'd both built walls and called it strength. I don't want to be that person anymore, she said one night. The one who sacrifices everything for the next promotion. Then don't be. It's not that simple. It is though you just decide what matters more. She looked at me in the dim light of her bedroom. You matter more. My breath caught. Don't say that if you don't mean it. I mean it us. It matters more than any job title. But you're still taking the Toronto position because it's the right move professionally. But it doesn't mean I'm choosing it over you. I'm choosing both. That's not always possible. Then I'll make it possible. I wanted to believe her, wanted to trust that this time would be different, but part of me was still scared. Her last day at the Chicago office was a Friday. The team threw a small going-away thing in the break room. Cake and cards and polite speeches about her contributions. She handled it with her usual grace. I stayed in the background, watching her say goodbye to people she'd worked with for years. When it was over, and everyone had filtered back to their desks, she found me in my office. Hey. That was nice. The team really showed up. You earned it. She sat in the chair across from my desk. I'm going to miss this. Working with you every day. Me too. But we'll still talk. Every day if you want. I want. She smiled. Good. When do you leave? Tomorrow morning? Early flight. I could drive you to the airport. I'd like that. We sat in silence for a moment, both of us aware this was the end of something and the beginning of something else. Are we really doing this? I asked. Long distance? Different cities, trying to make it work. Yeah, I think we are. It's going to be hard. Everything about us has been hard. Why stop now? I almost laughed. Fair point. She stood up and walked around my desk, pulling me to my feet. I'm not giving up on this, Talia. On us. No matter how complicated it gets. Promise. She kissed me right there in my office, not caring who might see. When she pulled back, I was smiling. Go home and finish packing. I'll pick you up at 6 tomorrow morning. It's a date. The airport was quiet that early on a Saturday. We stood at the security checkpoint, her carry-on bag beside her, both of us stalling. This is it, for now. I'll call you when I land. You better. She stepped closer, ignoring the people passing around us. Thank you for fighting for me, for giving this a chance, for being honest even when it was hard. Same to you. I'm going to come back to visit, every few weeks maybe, and you can come to Toronto. I will. We'll make this work. Yeah, we will. She kissed me one more time, long and steady and full of promise. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright. I have to go. I know. She grabbed her bag and walked toward security. At the entrance, she turned back and waved. I waved back, my chest tight. Then she was gone through the checkpoint, and I was standing alone in the departure terminal, watching the place where she'd disappeared. I drove home through the quiet morning streets, feeling the weight of her absence, but also something else: hope. 3 months later, I woke up to my phone buzzing. A text from Serena. Good morning, miss you. I smiled and typed back. Miss you too. How's Toronto? Cold, busy, lonely without you. 2 more weeks. I know, I'm counting down. We'd fallen into a rhythm. Daily texts. Video calls 3 or 4 times a week. Weekend visits when schedules allowed. It wasn't perfect, but it was working. She'd come back to Chicago twice. I'd gone to Toronto once. Each visit felt like picking up exactly where we left off. The distance was hard, but it made the time together matter more. I got out of bed and made coffee, opening my laptop to start the day. My calendar showed a meeting at 10, project reviews at 2, and a call with Serena at 8 tonight. Work had shifted after she left. I'd taken on more responsibility. The new department lead was fine, but not her. Nobody was her, but I was managing, growing, learning to lead in ways I hadn't before. My phone rang. Serena's name on the screen. Hey, thought we weren't talking until tonight? I know, but I couldn't wait. I have news. Good news or bad news? Good. Really good. The company's opening a new division. They want me to help set it up. That's amazing. Congratulations. Thanks. But here's the thing. The division will be based in Chicago. My heart stopped. What? They're moving me back. Not permanently at first. 6-month rotation to get things started. But if it goes well, it could become permanent. When? Next month. I sat down hard on my couch. You're coming back. Yeah, I'm coming back. Serena. I didn't ask for this, I swear. But when they offered, I said yes immediately. Because of work or because of me. Both. The opportunity is great. But being close to you again, that's everything. I couldn't speak for a moment. Just sat there holding the phone, feeling warmth spread through my chest. I can't believe this, I said finally. Believe it. I'll be back in 4 weeks. We can figure out the rest from there. Yeah, we can. I love you, Talia. The words hit me like a wave. She'd never said them before. I love you too. We stayed on the phone for another hour, planning and laughing and just being together, even across the distance. When we finally hung up, I sat in my quiet apartment, winter sunlight streaming through the windows, and felt something I hadn't felt in years: complete happiness. Not because everything was perfect, but because I'd finally stopped running from the one thing that actually mattered: connection, love, someone who saw me completely and chose me anyway. For weeks, and she'd be back. For weeks, and we could start building something real. I opened my laptop and got to work, already counting down the days. 6 months later, I wake up to sunlight streaming through the windows and the smell of coffee brewing in the kitchen. Serena is here, in my apartment, in my life, and I still can't quite believe it sometimes. But before I tell you how we got here, I need to tell you something else. Something I wish someone had told me years ago when I was 25 and thought ambition was the only thing that mattered. You don't have to choose. I spent 15 years believing I had to pick one path: career or love, success or connection, strength or vulnerability. I chose career every single time, and I told myself it was enough. It wasn't. I'm not saying ambition is wrong. I'm not saying you should give up your dreams or stop fighting for what you've earned. I worked 17 years to get where I am, and I'm proud of that. But somewhere along the way, I forgot that success means nothing if you have no one to share it with. I built walls and called them boundaries. I pushed people away and called it focus. I sacrificed connection and called it dedication. And I was lonely, so incredibly lonely. Even when I was surrounded by people at work, even when I was accomplishing things, I was alone. Because I was afraid of getting hurt, afraid of being vulnerable, afraid that if I let someone in, they'd see all the parts of me that weren't perfect and they'd leave. So I left first. Every time. Until Serena. And here's what I learned. Here's what I want you to know if you're reading this and you recognize yourself in my story. Being vulnerable isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing you can do. Letting someone see the real you, the messy, uncertain, scared you. That takes more courage than any boardroom presentation or difficult project. And the right person won't run when they see your flaws. They'll see them and love you anyway. Love you more because you trusted them enough to show them. Serena saw me at my worst, angry and defensive and terrified. She saw me break down after working 80-hour weeks. She saw me cry about my father's declining health. She saw me doubt myself and question everything, and she stayed. Not because I was perfect, because I was real. That's what love is. Not finding someone who thinks you're flawless, finding someone who sees your flaws and chooses you anyway. I wasted so many years thinking I had to have it all figured out before I deserved love, that I had to be successful enough, strong enough, independent enough. But love doesn't wait for you to be ready. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan or your perfect timing. It shows up messy and complicated and inconvenient. And you have to decide if you're brave enough to let it in. I almost wasn't. When Serena got that job offer in Toronto, part of me wanted to let her go. It would have been easier, cleaner, no risk of getting hurt. But I'd spent my whole life choosing easy over real, safe over meaningful, and I was tired. Tired of being alone, tired of pretending work was enough, tired of building a life that looked successful on paper but felt empty when I came home at night. So I took the risk. I told her I loved her. I asked her to try. I opened myself up to the possibility of heartbreak because the alternative, never knowing what we could have been, felt worse. And yes, it was terrifying. Yes, there were moments I wanted to run. Yes, the distance and the uncertainty and the vulnerability scared me more than anything I'd ever done professionally. But it was worth it. Every difficult conversation, every moment of doubt, every time I had to choose trust over fear, all of it was worth it. Because now I have this life, this love, this partnership with someone who challenges me and supports me and makes me want to be better. And I still have my career. I'm still ambitious. I still work hard and chase goals and want to succeed. But now I know that's not all I am. I'm also someone who loves deeply, who plays piano on Sunday mornings, who burns dinner sometimes and laughs about it, who admits when she's scared and asks for help when she needs it. I'm whole now. Not perfect, but whole. And if you're reading this and you're where I was a year ago, let me tell you something. You deserve both. Career and love, success and connection, ambition and vulnerability. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. You don't have to wait until you're successful enough or healed enough or ready enough. You just have to be brave enough to try. Brave enough to let someone in. Brave enough to admit you don't have all the answers. Brave enough to build something that matters more than your job title or your bank account or your perfect plan. It won't be easy. Love never is. There will be fights and compromises and moments when you wonder if it's worth it. It is, every single time, it is, because at the end of your life, No one remembers the promotions you got, or the hours you worked, or how impressive your resume was. They remember how you made them feel. They remember the connections you built. They remember the love you gave and received. That's what matters. That's what lasts. So if there's someone in your life right now who scares you because they matter too much, don't run. Stay. Try. Be brave. If you've been choosing career over connection for so long, you've forgotten what it feels like to let someone in. Stop. Take the risk. Open the door. Let yourself be seen. If you're 40 years old and single and successful and telling yourself you're fine, but deep down you're lonely, listen to that feeling. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to change your mind about what matters. You're allowed to admit that maybe work isn't enough anymore. And if you're in the middle of something messy and complicated and you can't figure out if it's worth fighting for, ask yourself this: does this person see the real me? Do they make me want to be better? Do I feel more like myself with them than without them? If the answer is yes, fight for it. Don't let fear win. Don't let past hurt keep you from future happiness. Don't let the voice in your head that says you're not ready or good enough or deserving stop you from trying. You are ready. You are good enough. You deserve love just as much as you deserve success. Both, not one or the other, both. That's what I learned. That's what changed everything. And now when I wake up in the morning, I don't just have a successful career and an impressive title and a list of accomplishments. I have someone to share coffee with, someone to laugh with when things go wrong, someone to hold when the world feels too heavy. I have a partner, a love, a person who chose me and keeps choosing me every single day. And that's worth more than any promotion I could have gotten. So this is my message to you, whoever you are, wherever you are in your journey. Be ambitious, chase your dreams, work hard, build the career you want. But don't forget to build a life too. Don't forget that you're human, that you need connection and love and vulnerability just as much as you need success and achievement. Don't spend 20 years building walls and wondering why you feel alone. Don't wait until you're perfect to let someone in. You'll be waiting forever. None of us are perfect. We're all messy and flawed and figuring it out as we go. The right person won't need you to be perfect. They'll just need you to be real. So be real, be brave, be open. Take the risk. Let someone see you. Let someone love you. Let yourself love them back. It might not work out. There are no guarantees. Love is always a risk. But I promise you this: the risk of trying and failing is nothing compared to the regret of never trying at all. I almost let fear win. I almost let Serena walk away because I was too scared to be vulnerable. But I didn't. I chose courage over comfort, connection over safety, love over loneliness, and it changed everything. So whatever you're facing right now, whatever choice you're struggling with, whatever fear is holding you back, I want you to know something. You're stronger than you think, braver than you know, more deserving than you believe. And you don't have to do this alone. Let someone in, take the chance. Be vulnerable. Because on the other side of that fear is everything you've been missing. Connection, love, partnership, not the place you live. The feeling you get when you're with someone who sees all of you and chooses to stay. That's what I have now. That's what I almost missed. Don't miss it. Don't let another year go by telling yourself work is enough when you know in your heart it isn't. Don't let another opportunity for connection slip away because you're too afraid to be seen. Don't wait for perfect timing or perfect circumstances or the perfect version of yourself. Start now, today, this moment. Reach out to that person you've been thinking about. Have that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Take that risk you've been too scared to take. Be brave enough to want more, to ask for more, to believe you deserve more, because you do. You deserve success and love, career and connection, ambition and vulnerability. All of it, not just pieces. All of it. And when you find it, when you build it, when you're brave enough to let it in, everything changes. Not overnight, not perfectly, but slowly, steadily, undeniably, your life becomes fuller, richer, more meaningful. You become more yourself, the person you were always meant to be before fear convinced you to hide. That's what love does. Real love, vulnerable love, brave love. It doesn't complete you. You're already complete. It reveals you to yourself and to someone else. And in that revelation, you find freedom. Freedom to be flawed, to be uncertain, to need help, to ask for support. Freedom to be human. That's what I found with Serena. And that's what I hope you find too. Not perfection, not a fairy tale, not a life without struggle or doubt or hard days, but something real, something worth fighting for, something that makes all the risk worthwhile. So go, be brave, take the chance. Your person is out there. Your life is waiting. Your happiness is possible. You just have to be courageous enough to reach for it. I did, and it changed everything. Now it's your turn.
I've been built by ticking clocks, by closed lips and sharpened talks. I learned strength through sleepless years, polished steel instead of tears. I don't bend, I calculate, carry time like heavy freight. Then your eyes cut through my stance, not a threat, more like a chance. You don't rush, you don't invade. Read the lines I've never made. You turn tension into truth, turn resistance into proof. In the strain, something moves. I see parts I never use. I see parts I never use. I kept order as my shield, numbers seal what I conceal. Yeah, your calm won't let me run, shows me strength isn't just done. Late hours fading light, two sharp minds in silent fight. Then respect slips through the cracks, softens what I thought I lacked. You don't press, you understand. Let me choose, hold out your hand. You turn tension into truth, turn resistance into proof. In the strain, something moves. I see parts I never use. I see parts I never use. If the road splits clean ahead, I don't know what's left unsaid. All these years I stood alone, now you feel like something new. You turn tension into truth, turn resistance into proof. In the strain, something blooms. I see parts from different rooms. I see life from different views. Maybe strength means letting in someone who knows where I've been.